So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Eazy Conversations. Thanks a lot to everyone who listened to the last episode featuring the homie Matt and I. Hope you enjoyed listening to us give our thoughts and detailed analysis on the Apple TV smash show Severance. And hopefully, we helped clear up any confusion and provided good insight and speculation on what we can see in future seasons of this show. It's now for episode 158 of Eazy Conversations. I'm extremely excited, of course, to be back in the studio virtually with the homie Matt. Say what's up to the people.
What's going on, everybody? Hope you're having a good time right now. I'm very excited for today's episode, Eric. It's going to be a broad subject. It can go many ways. I'm very happy to. This is one of the things I love the most. Like, it's going to be a movie topic again, so my favorite thing to talk about. Why don't you let everyone know exactly what we're going to be deep diving into today, Eric?
Yeah, so for this one, we're going to do something that we've done in the past before in terms of choosing a film genre and really getting into the weeds of it, what we like, what we dislike, maybe examples of these movies, share a top five, and if you're watching on YouTube or listening, either way, you're seeing what the subject is. We're going to be going about talking about thriller movies today. So this is a genre of film that is very broad or borrows from a lot of different genres as well. And even myself, when looking up examples of thriller movies, I was getting various lists that were pointing towards like sci-fi movies, superhero movies at times, horror movies, and I was like, all right, I didn't really think of this movie as a thriller, but I could see where they thought, okay, yeah, this is has a darker vibe, or it has you on the edge of your seat every now and then. So it was fun to put together a list of examples that in my mind were true thriller movies, and then we're going to also get into I think the closest genre to thriller is horror, so kind of differentiate between those two as best as we can. But to start, let's go into what we like most about thriller movies. So Matt, what's the appeal of thriller movies for you when you watch a good thriller movie?
You said a lot of great stuff there, Eric. And my appeal for thrillers is you've already mentioned it touches every genre. So in my opinion, a thriller is it's just a companion piece to the other genres like action, horror, sci-fi. Um, because thriller more describes how the movie is going to be paced and the surprises and reveals we're going to get. To me, thriller is not really a genre by itself. It's just a companion piece to the existing genres. It's going to be a drama that's a little more fast-paced and thrilling, and more reveals. A mystery with more action going on. A thriller by itself, it's not really anything, in my opinion. It's always a companion piece to like a drama, an action, mystery suspense. With mystery suspense too could just be a companion piece. A thriller too could be a fancy word for a horror movie that's more toned down. I'm gonna mention when we talk about horror movies and thrillers, some horror movies are classified horror just because of the excessive blood and violence. Where if that was toned down into PG-13 or so, it'd be called a thriller. So thriller is just a way to classify certain genres in my opinion, and just describe the atmosphere and the pacing. What I like about thrillers is that aforementioned atmosphere and pacing. You're never bored. It's not usually not slow-paced, long movies. Great like story and reveals, basically, right? Yeah. Twists. A lot of these thrillers I have written down have great twists and revelations, reveals. That's what I love about the genre, Eric. Love a good mystery, mystery thriller where you're trying to figure out like our main character who's done the crime, who's done the killing. So yeah, what I like about thrillers is it's like an umbrella over all these genres, and it's just going to describe it's just going to touch the atmosphere and the pacing of said genres. So yeah, is there anything, what do thrillers, what do they appeal to you, Eric?
Yeah,
what appeals to you?
You said a lot of good things. You said a lot of good things there that I completely agree with. Like when I think of thrillers, I think of also twists, atmosphere. And talking about atmosphere, and it's a great choice of words. And umbrella, I think of rain. There's always a gray kind of tone. I guarantee you, in 90% of the movies I've listed down here, there's at least one scene where it's raining outside because it just fits that tense kind of our characters are. And I don't know if you explicitly said it, but you hinted towards it. For me, a thriller, there's always a murder element to it, and there's always a kind of a whodunit, characters investigating, trying to find out who did the killing. Shout out Stanley Kubrick's The Killing, and just trying to see where our criminal, sometimes a psychopath, a serial killer is at. Twists are necessary in there as well, and they kind of elevate, because that's the whole time we're trying to find out information. There's new pieces of intel that we're along the same ride as our main characters, who are maybe a detective in this case, and just piecing things together and trying to make sense of what's happening. And when we were thinking about this idea for the pod, the first movie that came to mind for pure thriller was Taken, which is not necessarily my favorite, not at all favorite thriller movie, but I feel like that really embodies the vibe of a thriller, more leaning action rather than murder mystery. But that is one that really has you dialed in. You're with this character and you feel for him, and you don't know what's at the next turn for him, because he's going on this John Wick-esque journey, but we don't really know what's on the other side for him at each turn. With John Wick, it's just a bunch of people that he just has to mow through. There's not as much of a thriller element to it. It's just we know what's coming. So yeah, for me, that's kind of a good example of a thriller. But the one I mentioned there with the murder mystery could be like Zodiac, right? Where it also has a very gray, rainy atmosphere as well. So that's on your investigation. That's kind of that's a classic thought for me. Go ahead, Matt.
I have that one written down, actually. Zodiac, great example. Crime thriller, again. Like, just going back, before I touch on the two movies you mentioned, but going back to, like, my Blockbuster video rental days, the thriller section, Eric, had, like, movies from different genres. It's like they didn't know which ones to put, and it was the hardest. They're the hardest movies to categorize, really. Like you just said, action thriller for Taken, crime thriller for Zodiac. Two great examples. Thrillers, also, the stakes are really high. There's always like a life or death element most of the time, and that's why you're invested in them. You know, I could watch a drama and be invested, but more like it's very calm and soothing to watch. There's nothing bad that's going to happen. Same with comedies. But a thriller, you're like, all right, the stakes are really high, and the stakes are high in Taken, right? His daughter's kidnapped, talks to the kidnappers, tell him he's going to get him. Like, you're buckled in from that point, and that's a great example, Eric. Super formulaic thriller, but like hits all the notes and freaking spawned a franchise. I'm thinking, and made Liam Neeson like an action star. And Zodiac, slower paced, but again, in the investigatory angle about trying to find the Zodiac killer, which, spoiler, they still don't know who it is. You know, by the time the movie came out, you're following along with the journalists, the cops. It's really, it's like a thriller, but like takes its time and is more about information reveals, like you mentioned earlier, Eric. So I like that. I'll just throw in Seven from David Fincher, director of Zodiac. That to me, that's the perfect thriller, like from the 90s, a crime thriller. Seven Deadly Sins, each murder is one of the sins, and that movie is phenomenal in my opinion. And the 90s really captured that thriller vibe. The 80s had a lot of horror movies, and then the 90s took those horror movie ideas, polished them, put good actors, and casted really A-list stars, and called them all thrillers. When in fact, they're at the root of them. At the root of those movies, it's really a horror movie. I'm talking movies, Eric, like Silence of the Lambs, Seven, Fatal Attraction, like movies with like a horrific idea, but they kind of like tame it down and make it more polished, and it's really great filmmaking at the end of the day. You know, they wanted awards, they wanted recognition. They don't want to call their movie a horror film. That's just my take on those.
So I want to just touch.
Go ahead, Eric.
I just want to touch on Silence of the Lambs, because as we get into our top fives, like there's a chance that would be on your list, could be on mine as well. But the distinction there is that Silence of the Lambs is for sure a horror movie. But why is it not a thriller, Matt? Because in my mind, when I was kind of putting my list together, there are some movies that I would say are clearly horror movies, others thrillers. And where I drew the distinction was that horror movies tend to have an element of supernatural in them, where I feel like a thriller movie is fully grounded in reality. And Silence of the Lambs could easily be a real story, kind of like
Right.
Zodiac. What's the difference between Zodiac and Silence of the Lambs in terms of Zodiac as a thriller and Silence of the Lambs a horror movie? I just want to hear your thoughts on that.
I mean, I I've heard the argument both ways. What I've heard and what I think, and I have no problem saying Silence of the Lambs is a thriller, but like it's the nature of of Hannibal Lecter and Buffalo Bill that make it a horror movie. Specifically, Buffalo Bill skinning his victims and
Mm,
the scenes showing Buffalo Bill doing his thing pushes it into like a serial killer horror genre. Although, honestly, maybe I've called it horror in the past, but the way that Silence of the Lambs is paced, the music, the atmosphere, is towards more thriller drama than horror. Um, some people like think absolutely it's a horror movie. I'm
yeah.
honestly like it's more horror drama.
Mm,
Sorry, thriller drama,
mm,
because again the music, the pacing, the atmosphere. There's no jump scares.
yeah.
That goes when we get into our horror versus thriller. It's those few elements that can change a movie from a thriller to a horror. Just the music, the pacing, a lot of stuff like that. Because even though we see serial killers and horrific things, it doesn't mean it's a horror movie. Because there's a lot of movies like that, right? Like all those crime shows that are horrific, and like movies like Seven.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's gore in both. There's gore in Seven and in Silence of the Lambs. So no, like I'm not like super headstrong. Like, oh, Silence of the Lambs is a horror movie, but um, yeah, no, that's the movie that to start the debate, Eric, is
Yeah.
Silence of the Lambs, because a lot of people think it's strictly a horror movie, and I say no because of the technical aspects of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, like another example. So Andy and I just watched this movie that I was gonna recommend random recommendations, and then we got into this topic. So I'll just throw it in here. Strange Darling. So that was, if faithful
Okay.
listeners will recall, that was Matt's number 7 movie of 2024. Who can forget? Now, I enjoyed this movie a lot. Andy did not like it a lot. She actually said it was her least favorite thriller movie when we get into listener submissions, because, and her reasoning was, she didn't really like seeing the atrocities and the murders in the movie. Not going to get into
Right.
the specific details because that movie also fits the bill for thriller in that it had a lot of twists. Like, great movie. I really liked it.
Oh yeah.
But that kind of could have a Silence of the Lambs comparable where you're seeing these nasty kills. The pacing is very thriller slow. The music is eerie, so kind of fits the horror vibe as well.
Yeah.
That one like toes the line perfectly, but where I would lean that that's more thriller is that the presentation. But then again, like you can't really say that horror movies don't have like an art house composition, because the like the Ty West X and Pearl movies are very
Right.
well put together. So like, but those are those are horror movies though. So
Yeah.
I don't even know if we're gonna get to a real answer at the end of the day here, but Strange Darling, I'll just say really enjoyed. And just if people forget what you had said about the movie, what's cool about this one is you're following a killer on the end of their run, and the story is presented in 6 chapters, but they're not presented to us in chronological order. So the movie starts right away. We're in chapter 3, and we're in the thick of the action here. And then the next chapter is chapter 5. So we're seeing our characters jump to a point later in the story, and characters that they've interacted with in the 3rd chapter are dead. So we know they're gonna die, we just don't know how. And they jump back and forth. We're going like 3, 5, 2, 1, 4, 6 or something like that. Anyway, I think it's exactly that. And it's just a really cool way of telling the story. And the whole time I was just thinking like this is pure Quentin Tarantino the way it was put
Yeah.
together. It was like Pulp Fiction-esque instead, whereas in Pulp Fiction we're not explicitly told when things are happening. We're made to piece it together by ourselves, like, okay, this happened before this, even though we're seeing it after, kind of thing. So it was cool there where it was just explicitly telling us this is what's happening. But yeah, and like Pulp Fiction was another movie I saw in the thriller category, so which I don't think it is a thriller. I just think it's like a
No.
drama comedy
Yeah.
kind of. And that's another thing.
That one-
Last point on this before you go ahead, Matt. Thrillers, I feel like, never have any humor in them and could benefit from some, in my opinion. Like Strange Darling,
Okay.
I think would have been even better if it was a little funnier. Maybe it had a few lines here and there, but also at the same time, like I wasn't sure if I should be laughing at these things, because I'm like, all right, this girl's gonna get murdered right now. Like, it was uncomfortable to watch at times. And I also think that's what Andy didn't like, is that we were really seeing these atrocities. It,
Yeah.
like the slow build up, like you know what's coming, just on edge, is a point against it for
Yeah.
some in terms of a thriller. You don't want to see these things, which tips in the horror category.
Yeah, and you said a lot of good things there, Eric. I'm glad you liked it. Honestly, I want to say review. I was thrilled.
Pun intended.
Okay, so I'm gonna bring up a third like horror thriller, but there's also exploitation, a genre of like you're showing a thriller, but then you're going the extra mile with the excessive violence and maybe uncomfortableness and maybe like some sexual element. And this movie had a lot of that. I don't think Strange Darling is a horror film. I think it's a horror. I don't think it's a horror film. I think it's a thriller exploitation. Like it's a thriller that's very explicit, maybe sometimes too much. Which some people push that exploitation thriller going over the top into the horror genre because it's excessive. But Strange Darling is shot super well, and I call it a thriller, honestly, too, Eric. Thriller that goes above and beyond with like it's very violent and intense, but like the twists are unreal in the movie. It totally got me, by the way. Like I didn't see that coming at all. Just like the work, because they don't tell it in chronological order. Sometimes the character says something, then you want to go back and rewatch the movie and be like, wait, how did he mean that at that point? Anyways, great movie, good example. But I'm gonna throw other examples to you, Eric. You say horror is just supernatural. Like there's some movies that are definitely not supernatural. Like let's take, for example, Saw. Everyone calls Saw a horror movie, and the only reason Saw is a horror movie is because it goes the extra mile with the gore. Because at the end of the day, it's a crime movie, serial killer cops. Cops are trying to catch the jigsaw killer, and again, the only reason it's in the horror genre is because it's very exploitative with its gore, and it's insane gore, basically, Eric. So you can have a horror movie that's crime and just because of the gore element. So like if Strange Darling had even more gore, would we call it a horror movie? You know, there's like you said, we're gonna go around all this. We're gonna go around this topic all day and not come up with a definitive answer. My answer, Eric, is just the amount of violence and gore you see pushes into the horror genre. Also, the music and the tone. When I meant atmosphere, I meant more the tone of like we're gonna have a bunch of jump scares. We're gonna have frightening stuff trying to scare people. Successful or not, you know. Yeah, because like think about like Halloween, right? Like the original Halloween movie. If you take away that soundtrack and some of the things, it could just be like a maniac on the loose, right? Yeah. Or movies where people stalk, like the TV show You. Like you add a lot of gore to that. That's like a stalker horror show, but it's not. That doesn't go the extra mile, right? So I don't know. What are your thoughts on all this?
Well, I think You has a lot of gore. I think You is horror for sure.
There.
But I agree with your point. Like the soundtrack is big. Like what jumps to mind for me is like the different sounds you're getting. Like in a horror movie, you're getting like sharp notes of like, like stuff like that. Like attack, like a Grim Reaper's scythe just like cutting through the Logic Pro created audio track, whereas a thriller is more like Snape to Malfoy Manor, if you know the soundtracks as well as I do, like like just more like background hymns. Anyway, I see it in my mind. I don't know if it's coming across well on these audio waves, but different kind of notes we're getting. And then, yeah, I agree with you with the gore factor for sure. That is what could push from a thriller to a horror movie. Like in my mind, though, I think that would push Strange Darling to horror because it has that gore, and I feel like the soundtrack was haunting. Like I feel like the song and even the song in the movie, like the main song, the chorus is like, the devil you know is better than the devil you don't. And it's just terrifying. Every time that song comes on in the movie, I was like, like bone shivering down to my spine. But yeah. So anyways, I agree. But I feel like we are getting closer to an answer to what's what, and I agree it doesn't always have to have that supernatural element. I was just saying that a few of them that I listed definitely did, and one of my top 5 movies is for sure a horror movie, but I'm still gonna include it in there. But yeah, we can trying to think what else. And like while we're on the topic, like Sinners, the recent movie, we feel like we've talked about for the
Yeah.
last like 3-4 pods now. Let's wrap a bow on it. Horror movie for sure. If it didn't
Yeah.
have the, again, I've already spoiled this, so like if you don't want to know, maybe skip
In the
ahead there.
trailer.
But it's in the trailer. Like the vampire twist for sure makes it
Yep.
a horror movie. Like, no questions asked. And again, I'll say that falls into my point where that's supernatural. You're not gonna get a vampire thriller movie. But I feel like if
Yeah.
they didn't go, and that's been my thing with horror movies, is I feel like the start of almost every horror movie I've really enjoyed just builds the world, gives us like a tense atmosphere. Whether it's like an X where they're this group of young adults like filming a porno in a barn before it goes off the
Mhm.
rails with all the murders. I
Mhm.
love the world they build, and then there's a twist that fully puts it into the horror movie category. Sinners was that. We could have easily
Mhm.
had a like, hey, the two twins start up their jukebox joint. Preacher boy, their cousin, is gonna sing. We're bringing the people together, and now we're just gonna see all these old characters like Haley Steinfeld, who's an old ex of one of the twins, comes back in their lives. She's married now. Like, are they gonna
Yeah.
rekindle what they used to have? And then the other twin has his witch-ish kind of like ex-wife with their
Yeah.
stillborn. What's gonna happen there? You could have had like
Yeah.
a relational um, tense movie, but then they go the vampire route, fully horror movie, which I love though. Like I love that
Yeah.
twist, and the villain I'll just highlight was one of my favorite characters. He was terrifying, and every time
Yeah.
they let him cook with a decent monologue, oh, the music playing. I've been listening to that soundtrack a lot. Also, he was
Okay.
just captivating on the screen. So yeah, you just saw Matt. Let's hear your thoughts. I've been talking about it for the last like 3 pods. So what do you got on Sinners?
Yeah, I loved Sinners, everyone. Like, it was, I don't know where to start. So it's funny how one little detail of the movie pushes it into the horror genre, because it could have easily have been just non-supernatural beings that attacked the barn, the
That too.
jukebox, right? So, very interesting decision by Ryan Coogler. I love it. Um, okay, let's talk about the music of Sinners. It's like phenomenal. Like Preacher Boy singing, and just like the scene in the jukebox when they showcase the different eras of music in that one song, that was a magical moment in the theater, Eric. That's where I stopped thinking about anything else, and I was into the movie. Full goosebumps. Love that. Love that. Love the number with the Jack O'Connell, the villain, outside his Irish song and dance. That was great. But this movie was all about like music, the power of music, and let's not forget like the great acting too in the movie. Michael B. Jordan, like he's gonna be a big star. He already is, but like he's not even that old. Like he's gonna be in movies till he wants to be, and he's gonna. I loved watching him in this, Eric. He showed me stuff that I hadn't seen before from him. Um, the dual performance and just his face. He wasn't always him talking. Just his reactions to Preacher Boy. Like his reaction when Preacher Boy was singing in the car, amazing. Love that. I like that the whole movie takes place in one day, and like it kind of starts off with like the day after, and then it goes back. Like I kind of like that trope. It gets me hyped up. The action was good. Yeah, it was a little formulaic with the vampire horror stuff, but like they had already set up the movie so well that didn't matter. They're already establishing like it was already going to be a banger at that point once the vampires show up, because each character you got backstory on and you're invested. Delroy Lindo's character, I forget his name, the pianist, like the old guy. He was great. He's always good in every movie he's in. No, I loved it, Eric. Like the movie ripped by, and yeah, even like the little epilogue we get, right? That was unexpected. Really good, really good. Um, yeah, it's one I look forward to rewatch. Honestly,
Same here.
cool. Yeah, and setting in the 30s, that was a brilliant decision, right? And like they don't like they don't like spoon feed you like it takes place during Prohibition, and these guys have the alcohol. They don't really spoon feed you like, oh, this is why it's like they're doing something illegal here, and they don't like you got to think for yourself. You know, there's a lot of stuff going on in the background that they don't really have to highlight, but it's just there. I appreciate that. Um, yeah, great movie. did you want to touch on any other specific scenes or?
Yeah, well, just at that point where like Stack and Smoke like have been up to some shady business, but they don't tell you exactly what, right? They're like, oh,
Yeah.
you were skimming off the top from the Italians, and he had the Irish. Like you kind of have to work that. We can imagine whatever you want, really, in terms of what they've done in their like, oh, how was Chicago? And they're like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, it was something else, little cuz we got to take you out there one day, or no, you got to stay away from that. It's not for you. You just stick to your guitar, you know. So it's
Yeah.
cool how there's a lot underneath the surface. Like even the Haley Steinfeld relationship with, I think it was Stack. Like I don't know, he left her in the dust basically, but we
Mhm.
didn't really get into the
Mhm.
details of it, how where that all started, like what the love was like and everything there.
Yeah.
In my mind, this movie was Midnight Mass done right, and that's not a shot to the homie Mike Flanagan, but it was just a
Yeah.
cool, especially the end there where our Jack O'Connell, I forget the villain, I don't even know if he's named the villain, but
I
just
don't.
like how he goes out in a blaze of glory,
Yeah.
it was great to see, and I easily could have taken another 20, 30 minutes. Like when it was done, I was kind of bummed out that we were already done. Even though it's a long movie, it doesn't feel short. I just wasn't done with the world really. And like you said
Right.
with the epilogue, I was super happy to see that. Cool to see how like this is a movie that you could easily see a spin-off or a sequel that, you know, we're seeing similar characters do maybe slightly different things, but there is potential for more with this universe. I'd be okay also if they just shut it down, end it here, and then on to the next creation from Ryan Coogler. But yeah, no, amazing, amazing movie. Best of the year, in my opinion, so far. And yeah, banger in the theater. Like, this was a funny movie. There's a lot
Mhm.
of scenes where the
Mhm.
entire theater was cracking up, like Cornbread trying to come back into the barn. And
Yeah.
then just like,
Yeah.
yeah, well, I'm just being friendly, you know. We gotta be. Yeah, if we lose our manners, what do we have in this society? And then just going back and forth on that whole theme was pretty funny. Um, yeah, and the Preacher Boy song was a banger too. Like his voice was unreal, and
Right.
like you said, seeing Smoke and Stack react like yeah, like we gotta, our cousin's gonna make us millies out here. Like they're just fired up. It was
Yeah.
great. But
Yeah.
overall, like that's kind of all I would have on the movie. If
Mhm.
it's still in theaters, you can catch it. Recommend, but otherwise, I'm looking forward to rewatching as well with subtitles. Like that's kind of one of my critiques, though, is that at times it was hard
Not.
to understand what they were saying
Yeah.
with the southern twang.
Yeah.
So,
That's why I look forward to rewatching it to get everything. The little, I know they throw quips and like, I know
mm,
there's some funny parts I missed for sure. And the movie's very thrilling, right? Back to this, like it's
yeah,
every genre,
yes.
drama, comedy, thriller, horror. I don't know. It's that's the mark of a good movie. Pulp Fiction can't be classified. It's in every genre,
Mm,
and it's a great movie. You know, most masterpieces are like that. They're like they'll they hit a lot of different genres. Um, I have one more horror or thriller, Eric, honestly, and this is one that gets discussed a lot on like horror podcasts and uh, discussion groups. It's the Natalie Portman movie Black Swan.
mm.
Have you seen it? And would you say it's a thriller or a horror movie? It's because
I haven't seen
yeah.
it.
So
I haven't seen
you
it.
haven't seen it. Um, because the movie it's shot like a horror movie, Eric. Like it's frightening, but it's at the end of the day, it's just a thriller drama because two competing ballerinas and they
Mm.
hate each other. But there's some really cool psychological stuff. Anyways, that's another one everyone should check out. Black Swan. Um, Not gonna be on my top five, but I
Okay.
just want to mention it out there. I have a long list of thrillers, but I don't know if you wanna. Do you want to keep debating, Eric, or do you want to get into a top five? Whatever you'd like.
Let's go into top five, and even as we're talking about these
Okay.
movies, we can even say no, no, that's a horror movie or whatever. Like we can just
Sure.
we'll get into it as we talk about our movies.
For
So,
sure.
I have five. They're not in order, so I'll just rattle them off. What we can go back and forth one at a time. There, if you have them in
Okay.
order, like that's perfect. But me, I'll just say these are probably my five favorite thrillers. And if you think they're not, I have others I can sub in because I have a ton of movies here. So I'll start off with let's just go with the one that's for sure a horror movie though, but I think it is a thriller as well, and it definitely has that supernatural element that I mentioned earlier. Get Out. I think if you think
Mm,
that's just a straight horror movie, I can sub it out with something else, but one of the best movies to come out in the 2010s in my opinion. Love how it starts off with just like it's the girlfriend bringing her boyfriend over to meet her parents, a family weekend, and then obviously you know the twist there. They kind of put him in a trance, put him in
Yeah.
the sunken place, and then extract take his like it's a brain transplant
Yeah.
operation where
Transfer.
an older white man is gonna take on the body of our main character played by Daniel Kaluuya. So I mean, it's a pretty classic movie there at this point. Everybody's seen it, but that's a movie that, when I mention again comedy and thrillers or horror movies, has a ton of comedy, and like the supporting cast is unbelievable across the board, and one of the most satisfying rampage killing streak in a movie of all time, when he takes out that deer or that moose's head and just impales, I think it's the dad. Oh, like if I had seen that in the theaters, I'm sure the whole place erupted of
Yeah.
laughter and just standing ovations on the spot. So, anyways, what do you think of Get Out? If you think it's a straight up horror movie, I can replace it with another movie, but I just wanted to shout that movie out.
Before I reveal what I think about that, I just want to say I did see Get Out of the theater, and people were cheering the whole movie, especially when his buddy shows up at the end. You think it's a cop, but it's him in his TSA car.
TS.
That was amazing. Okay, so Get Out to me is a horror movie.
Yeah.
For one simple reason. Honestly, it could be labeled as a thriller, except for the sci-fi
Yeah.
medical procedure that's in the movie. Like, that's totally unbelievable. That to me pushes it into a mad scientist realm, which is a horror movie. For that reason only, honestly. And the whole like trance thing. If it wasn't for that, Eric, honestly, maybe a thriller. But that movie is so well written. I know it won an Oscar for best screenplay, but like, don't like believe the hype. It's amazing. I showed this movie to Mackenzie, who hates any horror movie, anything serious. She actually really liked Get Out. She's like, yeah, it's well made, and I explained to her the different things that, like the Easter eggs and clues to what's going on, and she's like, holy shit, yeah, that is a well made movie. Get Out on rewatch is even more rewarding than the first time. But a good choice, Eric. Do you got anything else on Get Out?
Well, I was gonna sub it for something else, but if you want to go with the movie, then go for it.
Oh, I thought we were going to do 5-5. My list is weird, Eric. This wasn't possible for me to make. So I picked 5 movies from 5 different decades that I think are 10 out of 10 masterpieces, thriller-wise, and they're my favorites. But, like, I can't rank them. I'll do my first one from the 50s. It's a French movie called Diabolique, and it's about a headmaster. It's about a headmaster's wife and his mistress plotting his murder. Because the wife's figured out that he has a mistress, and they both hate him basically, and they plot his murder during the movie, and it's super elaborate, their plan to get him. And then, as with every murder, something goes wrong, and it's a whole night of like trying to fix the problems that occurred, and nothing goes as planned, and then it spirals into something else altogether. It's a really good French movie from like 55, I think. Inspired Hitchcock, inspired a ton of movies. Les Diaboliques, I think it's called, or in English it's just Diabolique. Really good movie, very thrilling. Like the whole that night where they plan to kill him is very like every detail is present. It's really good movie.
Yeah, I mean, this sounds super interesting. I love that it's also a French movie that I've been harping on the fact that I would like to see more of these French movies. So definitely something I'll add to the list and want to watch for sure if I can find it somewhere. I want to watch this. Like, this sounds great. So I'll go with the movie now that I was gonna replace. I'm gonna have 6 movies now because I'm replacing Get Out with this. So I'm just gonna go with an older movie as well. I mean, I think it's 90s that or 80s that I haven't seen in a while, but I've seen it a few times, and this is definitely an action thriller movie starring the man who's just been doing it for half a century at this point. Harrison Ford, Tommy Lee Jones, The Fugitive. I think this is a straight up money thriller movie where man gets accused of murdering his wife. He didn't do it. We know. And Tommy Lee Jones doesn't care. So it's just a great. Honestly, it's been so long since I've seen this movie, but I've got to rerun it. I know this is a classic movie that my mom has seen probably hundreds of times as well. She loves it. And it's just one that you're on the run with Harrison Ford the entire time. dodging 5-0 and just trying to find out who actually killed his wife. And you're uncovering clues throughout the movie. Am I crazy, or is Jamie Lee Curtis in this?
No,
Okay.
she's not.
I am crazy, confirmed. But yeah, great movie. I mean, definitely recommend. If you haven't seen The Fugitive, that's a Harrison Ford just when he was on a run, literally both on and off the screen in this case. And yeah, I mean, I feel like it's a movie anybody can enjoy. And Harrison Ford has charisma, and is probably one of the biggest movie stars of all time, and doesn't really
Oh
get
yeah.
talked about as much as that anymore, just because he's older nowadays and we're kind of seeing him as a goofy Red Hulk character. But no, he was the man back then and still is today. So yeah, The Fugitive must include on this list.
That is an excellent choice, Eric. Harrison Ford is the king of the 80s and 90s for that action thriller genre, adventure. Like, he's
Yeah.
iconic. That's the word to describe him, iconic. He has not won an Oscar, and
Wow.
like, he won't get those accolades. Like, he might get an honorary one day, but like, it doesn't matter. He's freaking amazing in every movie he's in, because he's iconic. I don't know what it is. It's his charisma, really. Like, the first time you see him in the Mos Eisley Cantina in '77 and A New Hope, it's just his face is like, oh, okay, who is this guy? Like, amazing. Friggin' Indiana Jones. Oh, I can't say enough good things about Harrison Ford. I did pop on The Fugitive the other day. I started watching it with Mackenzie. We haven't finished it, haven't logged it yet. We got to go back to it because I want her to see it. She's never seen it. We haven't even got to the part where Tommy Lee Jones appears yet. We're just at the beginning. So great choice, Eric. Really good movie. It's never dull. Yeah, can't wait to finish it.
Nice.
Good choice. Do you want to just go into your number 4 now, or?
Sure, yeah, I'll do that. So this one, it is a thriller. It's a different one. It was, if you'll recall, when we did our top movies of the 2010s, this was my number one pick in the stacked 2014 year, starring Jake Gyllenhaal in the titular role as Lou Bloom, Nightcrawler. So I think this fits the bill as a thriller. It's definitely a neo noir, dark comedy drama thriller where we're following this weasel of a man just rise up through the ranks by any means necessary. He starts off as he might be homeless at the start of or jobless at the start of the movie, basically. Like, he steals a bike, sells it for a video camera, and from that moment on just rises through the ranks of network TV, and for being like a reporter, basically, going on crime scenes, following a police scanner, and getting those beats, getting to the crime scene before the cops, getting footage, selling it to the highest bidder. It's a different kind of movie where it's a kind of also a psychological study of this psychopath who extorts people, uses information against them to get what he wants, and he is a nutcase and a fascinating protagonist he's kind of an anti-hero. Like, he's not a good dude, but you can't help but be rooting for him, even though he does scummy things along the way. It's just cool to see how he navigates through the world and is like a roach. He survives by any means necessary, and hilarious scenes in that movie as well. That I remember watching this movie with my dad, and he was cracking up at a few of his like lines, like, because he's clearly, and I feel like we've all met people like this, who's just a narcissist, super intelligent, and has the highest faith in himself that he'll believe his lies so much and that he's never in the wrong. And the lines that he uses against people are like, who thinks of the stuff that he says? But I feel like I could, we've met a few people like that along the line in our lives. So great movie, Nightcrawler. Can't recommend this movie enough. That'd be my number 4.
I have that one written down, Eric, on my long list. I think absolutely it's a thriller, psychological thriller maybe. We like him because it's Jake Gyllenhaal. Like, he's very charismatic and does a great job. Had they kind of known him, I don't know how the movie would have went. But yeah, the script is the strength of this movie. It's gold. It's amazing. I saw it at the theater. I was floored. I was like, this movie's so well written. And yes, he believes his lies. That's the most dangerous person out there. Nothing you can say will convince him otherwise. It's super dangerous. And yes, he's a freaking cockroach, like getting rid of his competition and what happens at the end with Riz Ahmed's character. It's crazy. It's insane.
Yeah.
Great pick, Eric. Like, I have that one written down. It could have been my pick for the 2000s, but yeah, good stuff. Okay, my next one is from 1960. It's another French one, and I have both these French ones on Blu-ray, Eric, so I can lend them to you.
Okay.
No problem. This one's called Eyes Without a Face, Les Yeux Sans Visage. Almost a horror movie, but I'd put it as a thriller. It's about a doctor whose daughter was scarred in a horrific accident, and he's trying to, like, fix her, and he's a surgeon himself, so he's kind of kidnapping girls to, like, test stuff on them so he can eventually fix his daughter's scarred face. Anyways, it's a really creepy movie, but very, like, well-made, thrilling, and you just gotta watch it because it's so ahead of its time. It's like a horror movie before horror movies existed, and the way that it's showing stuff, like, it pushes the boundaries of, like, the censors at the time. It's 1960, and it's European. It's a really good movie. The Eyes Without a Face it's probably inspired so many, like, mad scientist movies and stuff. It has all the tropes, but, like, this is the first time it was being done. And 1960 was a huge year for horror because it had Psycho, this movie come out, Eyes Without a Face, and the movie Peeping Tom, which all those elements in those movies just that opened the floodgate for other directors to just create other horror movies. But this one, Eyes Without a Face, very, very excellent French film from 1960, very thrilling. Yeah.
I don't know, this reeks of horror movie, but I'll give it a pass. It's all good. No, this does sound interesting. This does sound though like a scary or an uncomfortable movie to watch. Like, I'm not sure, based on what you're saying, like the level of detail that we may be seeing on these twisted operations may be something that makes the bile rise in your throat if you're of weak stomach, but I think I can handle it. And like I said, I want to see these French movies, so buckle up. All right,
it's 1960, so
right.
1960, so they don't show too much. But no, there's also, like, the people trying to, like, catch him and figure the disappearances out. So that's like the thriller element in the movie.
Okay.
Yeah.
I could see it.
You definitely need to watch it. You need to watch it eventually. Okay. So, yeah, that's two so far that hopefully the other ones, too, you'll want to watch.
Right on. Okay, so last three, I'll just say now because we've talked about it already. I put Silence of the Lambs in here. Do you think no or go in a different direction?
No, I mean, that was going to be my pick for the 90s.
Oh, okay, let's go.
I'll pick I have 7 in Silence of the Lambs written down, so, like, that is one of my favorites, but I'll just mention another one when I get to it. But you can definitely go with it, Eric. It's a freaking masterpiece of a movie, in my opinion.
Yeah, because I'm looking at the rest of my movies, and, like, I like them a lot, but I feel like this is, because it's so close to horror, like, this would be my number one, but I'm putting a few others ahead of it because they're pure thrillers, so I'm still going to stick with Silence of the Lambs. Yeah, just obviously everyone knows the story here. Like, Anthony Hopkins, Jodie Foster. I don't know the actor who plays Buffalo Bill, but just iconic characters, and the atmosphere throughout this movie is just eerie. You're uncomfortable watching. You want to find out, like, how, or they want to catch Buffalo Bill, and it's just for me, I love the dynamic of a heroine working with a clear villain in Hannibal Lecter for a common cause and trying to take down another villain, right? It's like the old adage, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. And that's what Hannibal Lecter has become to Clarice, right, in this case. And you're sure her back is against the wall and she has no other choice but to work with this psychopath. And yeah, just love the ending as well, just how he manages to get himself out of his predicament and then go on a run in the critically panned Hannibal sequel. But yeah, no, Silence of the Lambs is iconic, one of the best movies ever, honestly. Like, it's a no-brainer, 5-star rewatch on any rainy day, under a blanket, of course, in daylight, as if there is a bit of sun creeping through the rain, the clouds. But yeah, classic movie.
Yeah. It's almost overlooked because it's so, like, it's easy to say, like, Oh yeah, it's good. Well, why is it good? Because it's so perfectly made that we overlook it sometimes in the question of, is it like one of the best movies ever made? It's hard to describe. It's like a hockey player that's so good he makes it look easy, and we always overlook certain hockey players. But yeah, no, they're some of the best too. They're always, I don't know if I'm making sense right now, but it doesn't always get the love I think. Silence of the Lambs doesn't always get the love I think it deserves because it's very procedural, and it's not like a super complicated story, but it's so technically well made, and every scene in the movie is like, there's not a wasted breath or line of dialogue. It's clinically made and perfectly. The running time's perfect. It's really really good. So good pick, Eric.
Yeah.
Okay, my pick from the 1970s. This one's like a survival thriller movie. Maybe like, I'm gonna describe it, and maybe it could be a horror, but to me it's thriller all the way. Okay, so this movie is called Deliverance. I think it's from '76. It's got Burt Reynolds in it, John Voight, Ned Beatty. I can't remember the fourth guy's name, but it's four friends from the city going on a backpacking, going on a canoe trip in like the outback of like Virginia or West Virginia, somewhere where it's like very country and a lot of hillbillies around, and they're very disrespectful and rude at the beginning, cocky. They don't like. It's basically country versus city type thing. It becomes a perilous survival because they encounter hillbilly villains during their canoe trip, and they have to fight the elements. But the hillbilly villain part in Deliverance is harrowing, Eric. It's vile and messed up. Can almost push it into the horror genre. It's got some very intense scenes of sexual violence, I'll say. And it's, once you see it, you don't forget it. And the movie's crazy because the second half is them like surviving and trying to like deal with the repercussions and trying to get away. And some characters at first seem timid and scared, and they become brave and courageous by the end. It's a survival movie at the end of the day. Very thrilling, though. That's Deliverance from the '70s. Very beautiful too movie to watch, like in the forests, in the water, and just their journey. It's a really good movie. It's pretty intense, actually. And the more times I watch it, I love it even more. But yeah, Deliverance, very like, it's like an American classic, I would say. A lot of people are aware of it and like know the infamous scenes in the movie, but it's really really good, Eric. You should check it out.
Beautiful movie to watch in the forest and the river. The things that happen in the forest and the river maybe not as beautiful, but I know what you're saying. And I've not seen this movie, but as soon as you said starring Burt Reynolds and John Voight, I knew it was this movie because I read parts of, like, I couldn't really get into this book. It was Cinema Speculation or something like that. It was a Quentin Tarantino book that he wrote about all the movies that he watched growing up and a lot of the ones that influenced him. And he went at length about this movie, citing scenes and like, oh, who can forget when this happened. So I feel like I have seen the movie to a certain degree. I don't remember everything. Obviously, I haven't seen the movie there, but I remember him talking about certain scenes. And it's pretty easy to put two and two together in terms of like these things that you and he were hinting at happened in this movie. So yeah, I'm well aware of Deliverance, and but I haven't seen it. So I'm definitely sure that there is a lot to take out of it, and like it's a classic that these are important to see. But yeah, like, I don't know if this is one I'll be spinning with Andy anyways there if she wasn't a fan of Strange Darling. I don't know about this one, but again with the woods, creepy things happen in there, right? So it's definitely, in literature and cinema, characters are not the same once they come out of the woods that they previously had never stepped into. So it's a transformative experience going through the woods. But yeah, so great pick. Like we've done with a lot of these, like toes the line with horror and thriller. But I like it. Okay, so my next two, these are pure thriller in my opinion. If we're going as like these are my number 2 and 1, could have them in either order, but I'm gonna go with the one I've seen less times next. It's might be 2014 also. It's right around there. David Fincher, Gone Girl. I think this is a classic thriller movie in terms of like has all those notes of great atmosphere, mystery, finding out information as we go along. misleading us at the start, aka twists, and takes a page out of the fugitive's book. I didn't kill my wife, and people want to find out what happens there. So Ben Affleck is accused of, or is the main suspect in the potential murder of his wife who's gone missing, right? Like Rosamund Pike is his wife, she's disappeared, and yeah, then we find out stuff along the way that leads us to question like who's kind of running the show here, and who's lying and who's not. So, but what I love about this movie is that our characters are so clearly gray. Like no one is a good person really in this movie. They've all got their own demons that they're dealing with. They're hiding stuff in their lives, and the dynamic in their marriage between Ben Affleck and Rosamund Pike is so interesting, where they so clearly, like it's obvious they hate each other, but on some level they're drawn to each other and can't really let go of one another. Maybe sometimes by choice, other times by like they have no choice. But yeah, it's a really fascinating movie. I feel like is pretty funny. Ben Affleck, I feel like gets a lot of flack for being kind of like I don't know if he's like a lazy actor or isn't a great actor, but I've never really had a problem with him. I find he's fantastic and kind of sneaky hilarious in this movie. Just everything he does, like he's always doing the wrong thing in the search for his wife, where he's like smiling next to the picture of her missing, like my missing wife, and he's like got a huge smile on his face. It just makes him look so obviously guilty. Anyway,
Right.
so Gone Girl is a great movie, and that would be my second pick here, or fourth pick, I guess, or fifth.
Great pick, Eric. Fincher is the king of thrillers, man. Like
Yeah.
he doesn't miss. Gone Girl, I saw it at the theater. I was blown away. I thought it was amazing. I haven't rewatched it since the theater, since like 2014 or whatever, because I'm scared to like ruin that perfect memory at the theater of the movie. But like I'm sure it holds up on rewatch, and I should rewatch it. In fact, Mackenzie's never seen it, so that's perfect. I'll watch it with her. She likes thrillers, like whodunits. I also read the book too, so I have read the book. The book's phenomenal. Great story. I like Ben Affleck as an actor, guys. Like I like him as a director and an actor. I think he's great. He does what he does really well. Good pick. I wasn't expecting this pick. I wasn't expecting to talk about this movie, so that's awesome. You surprised me. I'm not gonna pick any '90s movies because we talked about a few. I'm gonna pick two of my favorite movies of all time that happen to be thrillers, honestly, from the 2000s. And one of them is Memento, Christopher Nolan. I think it's a thriller because super, like our character, the movie's backwards. I don't know if for those who haven't seen it, it's Guy Pearce, and he can't form new memories, so he's trying to find out who killed his wife. The movie's presented like kind of like if you have his condition, it starts at the end and goes to the beginning. So you're as equally as confused as the main character in the movie. Struck a genius by Christopher Nolan, presenting the movie like we have the main character's condition. But Guy Pearce gets played like a fiddle during the movie, gets like used by a bunch of people, and to me it's very thrilling because I'm just fascinated with how the character study of the movie, of his character, him telling the story about another character in the movie. You start questioning things, reality. To me, it's very thrilling. Maybe not thriller in the sense of its rawest definition, like Taken or, a Seven, but Memento is in my top 10 favorite movies of all time, actually. So I had to talk about it. I just love it, Eric. It's one of the few movies I watched twice in a row. Like immediately threw it on again with the director's commentary, which I'd have never done in my life, really. But that's how much I like Memento. I could just rewatch it over and over again. It's never boring. Maybe this is just an excuse to talk about Memento, but I freaking adore that movie, Eric. So that'll be my number two or one, and I'll say my number two next.
Yeah, great movie. Lots of great twists in there, and it's super interesting, right? Like you've never seen a movie with the character that has this condition. He's our narrator, unreliable narrator too, right? Like you can't trust any of the characters that we're meeting along the way too. We're like, is everyone in on this? Like, is this a social experiment? Shout out Shutter Island. Like, you don't really know what to believe as we go along the way. So it's for sure a thriller, and like the atmosphere is kind of. Is this shot in black and white too? If I'm remembering it correctly, there's a lot of scenes that are black and white.
Yeah, half of it.
Yeah, so definitely that's a pure psychological thriller. No notes of horror there. Like it might be horror if you lived life with this condition, but in
Right.
this is a thriller, no doubt. And
Yeah.
is the guy who plays Ralphie from The Sopranos?
Fugitive.
He's in this movie, right? Yeah, yeah.
He's in the Fugitive too.
I gotta rewatch this movie. Great stuff. So my last movie, which seen a few times now, saw with Andy, she loved it as well, would be one we've talked about already on another pod when we went through this man's very strong filmography. Would be 2013's Denis Villeneuve's Prisoners. I think it's just like this
Mm.
fully fits the mold for a edge of your seat. You're uncomfortable the whole time. Gray, rainy atmosphere where we're trying to find out who kidnapped both Hugh Jackman and Terrence Howard's daughters on this. I think it's Thanksgiving Day. So this is a heartbreaking thriller, really, where like this is you put yourself in those two parents' shoes and their wives as well, dealing with how they go about dealing with it's how what's interesting is how differently the two couples go about dealing with their daughters being abducted and the lengths to which one would go to take justice in their own hands, matters in their own hands, to execute justice where the police aren't getting anywhere. They have no faith in the legal system, where Jake Gyllenhaal does a great job as Detective Loki. He's trying his hardest, working the case nonstop, but doesn't really get anywhere or gets on the wrong track. And while eventually, though, it does lead to the right track, it's just cool to see the two journeys of Hugh Jackman going rogue nation on his own investigative path, and then Jake Gyllenhaal following kind of more the straight and narrow path, but also cutting corners to get the information that he needs, and then how they butt heads along the way too. And then obviously like a standout scene that'll stick with you is when Hugh Jackman has Paul Dano's character in his little hold up bunker, and it just with the hammer at his face going he goes feral on him. Like I feel like I would have been terrified as an actor acting opposite Hugh Jackman there. Like it's raw, brutal behavior, and I'm sure a part of Paul Dano is terrified. But yeah, just a great movie, and like I said, pulls at the heartstrings. You just feel for the characters, and ultimately ends up in a pretty good spot. But I love the ending too. Is kind of open to interpretation in terms of like what happens for some characters, right? So amazing movie in my opinion, and not for the faint of heart, but at least you don't really see too much graphic violence. Where pure thriller, great movie.
Yeah, sometimes not seeing it is worse, right? Your imagination.
True.
Great pick, Eric. The Prisoners is a masterpiece. It's something I would show someone who's never seen a movie or like doesn't know what a thriller is. Like you show them Prisoners or Seven, like this is exactly what we're talking about. Yeah, well, Hugh Jackman goes like full feral Wolverine,
Yeah.
when he's not even playing Wolverine. He's never been as. This is the most intense you've seen him.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy. Prepped him for Logan,
Yep.
No, what a great movie. Now where I'm at in my life, like the movie hits even harder, like thinking about what would happen if that happened to me, I don't know. It's a messed up movie if you think about it, and great acting. Like thinking of Melissa Leo, she was great in the movie Creepy, Paul Dano's mom, I believe. And yeah, no, great pick, Eric. I have that one written down actually. Denis Villeneuve does great thrillers.
Yeah.
Yeah, thinking of some of anyways, great pick, Eric. I'm glad you represented that movie. I'm going to represent one that people are less familiar with because it's Korean. It's a hidden gem, really. This movie is fantastic. I've watched it many times. It's from 2010 or 2009. The movie is called I Saw the Devil. It's about a ex-special forces agent who loses his wife at the beginning of the movie to a serial killer. The movie opens up, he finds it like there's a big crime scene. His wife's body's there. They know it's done by this infamous serial killer who's terrorizing people. This guy goes on his own vendetta catches the serial killer. It's not a spoiler because it's in the beginning, but he's catching this serial killer, beating the shit out of him, torturing him, then letting him go, only to do it again. Now, this is the first half of the movie, but what happens is he gets too deep into this cat and mouse game where, that serial killer starts like putting two and two together, and like he's not stupid either. So the whole movie basically is this cat and mouse game between our good guy character, and good guy in quotations, the special forces guy, and our serial killer, who are both played by two Korean acting legends. The special forces guy is the actor from Squid Games, actually, who plays the villain, and who in season 2 poses as the good guy. And he's in a ton of other movies. So that actor, Lee Byung-hun, he's great. And then the serial killer in I Saw the Devil is played by Choi Min-sik, who's in such classics as like Old Boy and a ton of Korean movies. He's like, these two are legends, Eric, in the Korean acting world, and they're great in this movie. And it's very gory, violent, thrilling, almost a horror movie, I would call it, honestly, with the amount of violence they show. It's not for the faint of heart. It's not a short movie, but there's a lot going on, and it makes you very uncomfortable. This movie, too, is shot beautifully, Eric. There's a couple of, like, standout scenes. You should check this out, and then we can discuss it more. But I Saw the Devil, a great, great movie, a great thriller. Great cat and mouse thriller, crime, mystery. Not really mystery, but more just pure thriller. So I would recommend that movie to everybody. I Saw the Devil.
Yeah, I remember you talking about this movie in an old, like, I don't remember when, but I remember this movie for sure. I haven't seen it, unfortunately, but yeah, it definitely sounds like a different kind of movie, interesting, and maybe you're not even sure who you're rooting for as the movie goes along, right? Like, we're at first like, oh my god, this guy, his wife was brutally murdered. You want to see him get revenge, but then you're like, okay, this guy's maybe pushing it a little too far. Maybe just kill the poor bastard, for God's sakes. Then you maybe flip on the serial killer side. So I like those kind of movies where it's not black and white in terms of who you should be rooting for, and if your allegiance flips along the way. That's super interesting. So love that pick, and yeah, I love the diversity in your picks as well. 3 of them foreign flicks. So good recommendations for everybody out there who may be more familiar with, have seen more of my movies. Like, I love those ones. So yeah, great list, Matt. A lot of fun. Yeah, I mean, that's all I had really for thrillers. Like, there's others I've listed there, but we don't really need to get into, like, this is a good thriller movie as well. Did you have anything else that you wanted to get into though with the genre?
No, I mean, I wrote a ton down. I wrote a ton of movies down. You mentioned a lot of them, which is great. Your list was great, Eric, because yours are all, like, to me, 10 out of 10 thriller masterpieces. Not even just thriller, just good movies in general that I have written down. So, did anyone submit a pick
Yes.
for the Instagram? Sorry.
So thank you for reminding me. I had remembered also, but I have been notorious in the past to ask for picks and then forget to say them on the pod. So we do have some. So Andy, she said a few that I've talked about already. So Prisoners, Gone Girl, The Town was another one. So that's like on the edge, I think, but love The Town. So good.
Oh yeah.
And then
great stuff.
She, like I said earlier, said least favorite, Strange Darling. Was not a fan.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I can't. Yeah, that's her. Yeah, that's fair.
My mom submitted Misery, starring Kathy Bates. Any thoughts, Matt?
We should have discussed that for horror versus thriller, because that's a perfect example. I love Misery. I've read the Stephen King novel. I've seen the movie many times. It's a masterpiece in acting and storytelling. The movie takes place in a bedroom, Eric. James Caan is bedridden the whole movie. Walter Hobbs.
Yeah.
Bedridden the whole movie. But you're never bored. Like, it's all dialogue, but it's never boring. It's a great freaking movie. Kathy Bates won an Oscar for this movie. It's a masterpiece. Can't believe I didn't even mention it earlier. Great pick, Tottenham.
Gonna have to check this one out. So now quite a few of the submissions we got actually are bordering the line of horror, and we've talked about quite a few. So the homie DJ Double Down, DJ at our wedding, shout out DJ Double Down. He submitted Silence of the Lambs with the goat icon next to it. So tough to disagree there that it is not the goat. He also said a big fan of Memento and Seven.
Nice.
So those were his picks.
Great stuff. Great taste.
Yep, great picks. Then the next ones were from the homie Justin Mochtinger. So he said Saw, Halloween, and some of the Friday the 13th movies. So I did say I think these are more on the horror side. So any thrillers, and I'll just have to scroll a bit. He said, would Us be considered a thriller? If so, I like that movie Jordan Peele made. Probably my fave of his work.
I would consider it a horror movie because of the supernatural element. Again, a sciencey element of like stuff that would never happen in real life, right? I wouldn't call it supernatural. It's more sci-fi, like the clonage in the movie, right? So I don't know.
So funnily enough, I said, yeah, we could go with thriller for that. But if you ask Matt, he would say that's a horror movie as well. So you proved my point to a T. But great movie.
Great movie.
Us is fantastic. So the next one was from the homie, my buddy Dill Brindamore. So he said, it might be the nostalgia glasses here, but it's Disturbia for me. So I haven't seen this movie, Matt. Any thoughts?
I really like it. I almost mentioned Hitchcock's movie Rear Window, which Disturbia kind of like remakes. And Rear Window is a great thriller. But no, Disturbia is good. It's someone under house arrest who potentially sees a murder next door or something fishy going on and wants to investigate. So it's 100% a great thriller. It's got Shia LaBeouf being his hyper self, like Transformers era Shia LaBeouf. So it's kind of funny in that aspect, but I really like it.
Okay, right on.
Yeah, PG thriller, right? Like it's not super intense or gory or explicit. I mean, so good pick.
So then the next ones were from the homie Kristen Ud. She said Primal Fear, that has a cool twist, not scary, and then Get Out, great twist, definitely a mind Fuck. But yeah, those were her picks. Get Out and Primal Fear. Haven't seen Primal Fear.
Great pick, Kristen. I almost Primal Fear. I think it's on Netflix right now. I almost wrote it down on my list. You should check it out, Eric. It's like I call it like a courtroom thriller. It's a lot of courtroom scenes. It's about a court case with a murder, and I won't say much more honestly. But Edward Norton, it's his entrance into like Hollywood. After this performance, he was a made guy basically. He got nominated for this movie. That made him this movie. This movie made Edward Norton and Richard Gere, our lawyer, our main guy, amazing. You should check it out, Eric. It's amazing dialogue and very captivating film.
Right on.
You should definitely check it out. Primal Fear, great movie.
And we've discussed Get Out at length and recognize it as not a thriller movie. So the next one was from the homie Derek Gregoire. So he submitted Shutter Island as his pick.
Great pick. Yeah.
So love
you
that
movie. You mentioned it earlier, right?
Yeah, I mentioned it earlier. The first time too that hit like crack. Great twist. You're definitely in the trenches with Leo and Mark Ruffalo as well, just kind of trying to figure out what's going on this island. Great movie. And then on the second viewing, you're just picking up stuff that kind of makes it clear what the twist was, but you can't put two and two together without getting to the end first. So it's a great movie. So thank you for that. And those are our submissions. So yeah, thanks a lot, everybody. Like I always say, love when you submit picks for these kind of polls. So yeah, I think that's good for the thriller genre now, Matt. We can get into some random recommendations. I have one movie that I want to recommend, so Strange Genre is going to be one, but now I'll say this one, that after watching Sinners, got me on a Haley Steinfeld kick, and The Edge of 17, which is on Prime Video. Have you seen this movie, Matt?
Oh, yeah, I own it. I love this movie.
Okay.
Yeah.
So good. And just in a nutshell, it's about Haley Steinfeld's character. She plays a teenager called Natalie, going to high school, and her dynamic is that she hates her life, has a slightly older brother. I'm not even sure if they're twins. It's not really clear. But her brother's this cool guy, popular. Everyone loves him. Doesn't seem to have a care in the world going through life. And she's quite the opposite. She has all of the worries in the world. And actually the movie opens with her telling her teacher, played by Woody Harrelson, that she wants to commit suicide, basically. And their exchange back and forth is pretty hilarious, and the dynamic that they have is very great funny and heartwarming at times as well. And she has one friend basically, and then her friend starts hooking up with her brother, and that creates a lot of disdain and stress in that friendship and kind of ruptures it. And all this happens super early in the movie there. So we're seeing her navigate through life, having lost the only person she kind of thought she could trust. And actually, her friend is played by the actress who plays Portia in season 2 of White Lotus. So she's much younger. And I knew I recognized her, and then like, a few minutes passed, I'm like, yeah, that's Portia. So, yeah, great movie. And this is a dark movie, though. Like, Haley Steinfeld just goes through it in this one. But what makes it so good is that I found it hilarious. Like, I was laughing a lot, which thankfully offsets the dark vibes in the movie. So it's just one of those movies that pulls at the heartstrings. There's relatable stuff in there in terms of it going through high school and trying to fit in and stuff. Troubles and friendships and relationships. And then parent dynamics. Yeah, just such a good movie. Can't recommend it enough. Haley Steinfeld's amazing in this. Like, she is the star, driving force of the movie. It's such a good movie.
People like forget like how amazing of an actress she is. Like when she emerged on the scene with True Grit, that Western movie, she's amazing in that. And in this movie too, they in the trailer to I remember when the trailer to this movie came out. It's the scene between her and Woody Harrelson about like they're kind of like joking about suicide a little bit, and I'm like, holy crap! Like these are very intense subjects, but it's like I couldn't stop laughing too because it balances drama and comedy very well. This movie does an excellent job of blending the two and not being too weepy, not being too overly like tugging at our heartstrings, or not being too funny and not like it's serious when it needs to be and it's funny when it needs to be. It balances that perfectly. And I've rewatched this movie too. Like it's very rewatchable, and I think it should go down as like a coming of age classic. Really, that's what I would describe this movie. It's like a great coming of age high school movie, you know.
Yeah.
There's a lot of bad ones, Eric. There's a lot of shitty movies out there. Comedies are the hardest movies to do, I swear to God. They're very hard to nail. And this is a comedy coming of age. It's phenomenal. A movie that is forgotten too, Eric. Like not a lot of people mention this movie, so I'm glad that Sinners made you watch this movie. And that's awesome. Great recommendation. Yeah. Maybe I should pop it on again on it. It's been years, so like I've probably forgotten half of it. Good stuff. I don't know. We will talk about this. I think we should talk about it at length in another episode, but like I can't recommend Andor season 2 enough. And what I'm going to recommend is I'm not going to go into Andor season 2 now, but I'm going to recommend as soon as you finish the last episode of Andor season 2, you go on Rogue One, which is what I did.
Yeah.
Because honestly, that transition is perfect. The transition into like the Cassian Andor his first scene in Rogue One is flawless. It's perfect. And like you said in your review, Eric, of Rogue One, watching Andor makes Rogue One even better, which that movie has gone up with each viewing, in my opinion. So I'm going to recommend doing the Andor Rogue One double feature. Did you want to elaborate on that, Eric? I know I kind of want to do an Andor show where we go in depth, right? But Rogue One definitely a lot better now. Even with Krennic, like seeing Krennic in Andor and then Rogue One, like it's great stuff.
Krennic sucks. I hate the guy. Like he's just such a whiny. Like you can just tell too. No one likes him. He's this dweeb who maybe he's ambitious, has these ideas, and he's a big part of the Death Star curation. But I feel like Galen Erso was the little engine that got it done. So I mean, obviously he does a great job in season 2, no arguments there. But I love the line in Andor season 2 where like Luthen and Clea are just leaving that gala. And they're just joking like, we should have killed Krennic, eh? Like, it's just funny. Like, no one respects him. Obviously, they're on the other side from him there, but and we know as the audience, like, you should have killed him pretty much. But anyways, no, Andor season 2 is amazing. Only got better too. Like, The complaints that the season started off slow, I was not worried whatsoever that the first arc wasn't the strongest, if you will. You knew it was going to end on a bang, and who's going to complain about season 2 at this point when they saw how it ended? And yeah, the segue to Rogue One makes it better for sure. I wrote about this as well. It kind of makes you see Cassian as kind of the main character in Rogue One. What I will say though about Rogue One, which I don't think this is ever going to change, Jin as the main character, especially given how members of the Senate or like the rebellion react to Andor when he's saying like, this is what we should be doing. They're like, no, we don't trust you, we don't believe in you. And they're like, they've seen what Cassian's done throughout all these years for the rebellion. And then this girl comes in, she's like, my father wanted this. Like, yeah, let the girl talk. It's like, what are we doing here? Like, I don't think that's ever going to change for me personally. A bit of a stretch how she's able to come in and make everyone rally around and go on Scarif to get the plans. That's my complaint. But otherwise,
Okay.
I love Rogue One a lot more after having seen all of Andor. I think it's the best looking Star Wars movie for sure. And even the action, which in the past I've criticized, it looks so good. Like the boots to the ground, AT-ATs on the beach of Scarif, like the X-Wings above the base as well. So cool. And yeah, great dialogue. And Cassian is an unreal, arguably main character in Rogue One. So it's such a good movie.
That's a legit complaint.
Yeah.
I hadn't even thought of that, Eric, and I can't disagree with you.
So that was my only movie. I'll recommend a show on Apple TV called that are just, like I said last episode, just pumping out content called Your Friends and Neighbors, starring John Hamm. Have you started this, Matt, or no?
No, I have heard of it though.
Okay.
I have looked it up. It's serious, right?
Yeah, it's pretty serious, but it also has
Okay.
some humor in it. Could maybe benefit from being a little funnier, but there were quite a few scenes where I was laughing out loud a lot because John Hamm, like he has that charisma, right? So in a nutshell, it's about John Hamm who plays this investment banker who handles people's, like he's a financial advisor, kind of handles people's portfolios, and he loses his job like first 10 minutes of the show because he gets set up for something that he has to take the fall for it essentially. So then he's living this high-end lifestyle, and he's also freshly divorced from his best friend sleeping with his wife. That's kind of the context there. So he's down in the dumps on all fronts and he's like paying alimony to and like paying for 2 houses at the same time. So doesn't have the same source of steady income coming in that he did prior to this show starting. So he resorts to becoming a thief and breaking into his neighbors' homes and stealing from them and selling their belongings on the black market, essentially. Like, that's how he's making his dollars nowadays. The honest way, the good old-fashioned American way, am I right? So it's just funny seeing him kind of live this, like, he's already stressed with everything going on in his personal life, professionally, and now he's adding on another layer to the pound cake where he's knowing like the cops are kind of on his trail. So it's over the top, obviously. Like, every character in here has this crazy story too. But I'm enjoying it, to be honest. Like, it's a fun ride where he's dealing with divorcees as well. There's affairs going on. Like, everyone in the neighborhood has this dirt. And as he's breaking into homes, he finds out stuff about his neighbors.
Okay.
And it's also where it becomes believable where they're not really linking everything together yet, is that these people have so much that he's able to go into their homes, steal a little Patek Philippe watch, and no one's the wiser. Like, they're not even noticing that these things are missing, right? So it's pretty interesting. It's over the top, obviously, but I don't care. That might be the line of the show. I don't care. It's just fun to watch. And like I said, John Hamm, great lead. Funny when he has to be, serious when he has to be, emotional at times, and there is some relatable stuff where he's like, well, obviously not for me that I'm not in that situation, but like he's a divorced dad and he's struggling to connect with his kids. Like, you just see him try to be there for them and they want nothing to do with him. They're like, oh, you didn't fight for us in your marriage with mom. So there's a lot going on there. Every character has their own little stuff that they're dealing with, and they do a good job at wrapping up. Olivia Munn is in the show. Amanda Peet, she's his ex-wife. There's a few other people like, oh yeah, actually no, that's kind of it, to be honest. Those are the main 3 that you'd recognize. But yeah, a good show. They're around 50 minutes, so it's kind of a commit where I'll just not really get into it right now there, but compared to The Studio, another great Apple show that I'm done
Nice.
I loved that show was like really around 30 minutes each episode. Like
Yeah.
so easy to
Perfect.
watch, hilarious show also.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I wish Apple would
Nice.
pump out more like just 30-minute comedies. That hopefully the Owen Wilson Golf Pro show is around that line, but if it's like 40, 50 minutes, like I'll still watch. But yeah, Your Friends
Yeah.
and Neighbors. Good recommend.
Awesome. I'm gonna check it out right away. I needed a new show to watch, so that's perfect. And somebody else recommended it too, so glad you brought it up, Eric, and elaborated on the plot because I wasn't totally sure what it was about. And I'm glad you liked the studio. I have to watch the last episode. I think I have the last one to watch, second part of episode 9.
Yeah.
Awesome. I'm just gonna do 3 quick rapid fire ones and then call it for my recommends.
Yeah.
3 different type of movies. So the first one is Netflix's Nona's.
Oh.
With Vince Vaughn. It's a feel-good drama, Eric. Comedy drama. There's nothing bad that happens in this movie. This is just hits you in the feels and kind of good acting and just puts a smile on your face. This movie puts a smile on your face. That's all I'm going to say. Vince Vaughn was really good, as well as the 4 older ladies that portray the Nonas that help him in the movie. Anyways, very good. The second movie is a horror thriller. It's called Drop. It's basically this girl at a restaurant. She's finally got a babysitter. She's back on the market. She's dating this guy. First date, gets a text, like an airdrop on her phone at the restaurant. And there's this guy at her house. You can see him on the cameras who's like threatening her kid and babysitter. And she basically has to follow the instructions that are on her phone or something bad will happen to her kid. And the instructions, you find out what the motive is for this guy to get her to do this thing at the restaurant. Anyways, it's very thrilling in the sense that like she's in a perilous situation. She has to pretend everything's fine, but she's got to follow these instructions on her phone. Which the first instruction is you see your date, you gotta get his camera's SIM card out of his camera because I guess there's compromising pictures on there. But it starts that way. It's really really thrilling. Again, though, super cheesy. It's not like a great horror thriller, but it's very like, if you want to shut your brain off, it's the perfect movie. So that movie's called Drop. The third movie I'm going to recommend, the last one, is called The Assessment on Amazon Prime. I just finished this movie. I was watching it on break at work my last couple nights in like 20-minute segments. It's with Elizabeth Olsen, Alicia Vikander, and Hamish Patel. And it's a sci-fi movie where this assessor, played by Alicia Vikander, goes to this couple's house and has to assess them to see if they're fit for children. Because this society, they don't have children the normal way. Like you have to earn the right to raise a child in this world, which is a sci-fi world where the world's gone to shit, I'm guessing. But it's a character study, psychological, very weird movie, Eric. There's a lot of mind games going on because she spends a whole week with the couple. And all I got to say is Elizabeth Olsen is great in the movie. The husband, Hamish Patel, is great too. And Alicia Vikander, she's back. Like, I haven't seen her in a while on a lot of stuff, but she's great in this movie. Reminded me of Ex Machina, like her performance. Very weird, but like compelling, you know? So that's the assessment on Amazon Prime. So just those 3 movies I'll recommend, and yeah, that's it for me.
Okay, right on. I like a nice little 3-pack there, and yeah, I'll save other recommendations for another time. Going for a good amount here, so yeah, I mean, great stuff. Super fun, Matt, to go over the thriller movie genre with you. Any final notes for the listeners?
No, just thank you everybody for listening. Eric, I really enjoyed listening to you talk about the movies you talked about because I feel like we just scratched the surface and we could have talked for freaking 8 hours. There's so many things, so many cool things. I loved your list. Thank you everybody who submitted their own thriller. I loved hearing all those answers. And just, thank you for listening to the podcast, everyone. I really appreciate it.
Well said, Matt. So yeah, thanks a lot, everybody, for listening. Stay tuned for episodes dropping every 2 Mondays. Continue to enjoy the spring and summer's just on the horizon. And yeah, peace.